Hello everyone, we are the Team 14 and our topic is about the SI, the Successful Intelligence Theory, and WICS model of Robert J. Sternberg. But before I proceed to my topic, let me tell you who is Robert J. Sternberg. So he is an American psychologist and psychometrician born in New Jersey on December 9, 1949. After suffering from test anxiety and doing poorly on an exam, he realized that the test was not an accurate measure of his actual knowledge and abilities. Sternberg served as the president of the American Psychological Association in 2003. In 2013, he voluntarily resigned as the president to the University of Wyoming after having held the office for only 4 months. What does triarchic mean? So, triarchic from tri meaning three is a theory composed of 3 different types of intelligence. Sternberg's triarchic theory emphasizes how 3 types of abilities work together to create intelligent behavior. Another thing is, triarchic is a general theory of human intelligence. So what are this triarchic theory of Robert J. Sternberg? First is the analytical, a second is creative, and the last one is the practical. Okay, when we say analytical, this is an ability to recognize patterns. This is also a traditional definition of IQ and our academic achievement. An example is the research, problem solving, the data, and so on. So, number 2 is creative. So, this is an ability to come up new idea, ability to use existing knowledge, create new ways to handle new problems or cope in new situation. An example is you are a discoverer, an inventive, an innovative. And the last one is the practical. So practical is the ability to get along in different contexts. So I will give an example of a practical intelligence. So imagine the moment you got lost while visiting a new city for the first time. How did you react while in such an unfavorable condition? What was your plan to navigate your way back home? So this is exactly a typical scenario of practical intelligence. So in memory skills, it helps us to recall facts and pieces of information. Analytical skills, it helps the person determine if a certain idea is good. Creative skills, it allows a person to come up with a new idea, usually to answer a need of solve a problem. And practical skills, it enables a person to apply what one has to learn.
We have here the methods of Sternberg's in order to create a diverse activities and also to help all students to explore all aspects of their intelligence. So we all know that the students or the learners have their own ability to think, to analyze, to be creative, and to be practical. So we have here the 3 successful intelligence theory. First, we have analytical. In analytical, the learners will be able to analyze, critique, judge, compare and contrast, evaluate and assess. And in creative, we have create, invent, discover, imagine, suppose that, and predict. Lastly, in practical, we have apply, use, put into practice, implement, employ, and render practical. So we will be giving to you an examples about the 3 successful intelligence theory later on. In these slides, I have here the example of a successful intelligence theory using the 4 skills: So let's say that you are in a child and adolescent class and you finish a lesson about the cause and effect of bullying. So I have here the example of memory skills in task 1. Answer a set of fill-in-the-blanks items about bullying. In this situation, the learner will be able to recall the facts and pieces of information about bullying, and based of what they have learned and based of what they have acquired. Second, analytical skills. Read a story about bullying and analyze the case. In this situation, the learner will be able to determine if a certain idea is good, and they can think of new ideas and better ideas, and also they analyze the story about bullying and the case. In creative skills, create a poster, write a song or poem to stand up against bullying. So in this situation, the learner will be able to create a poster. So they are now creative. They are now creative in making or writing a song or poem about bullying. Lastly, in practical skills, make a plan for a teacher to implement or to do address or handle bullying in the classroom. In this point, the learner will be able to apply what they have learned, especially in implementing a plan. Let us proceed now to the WICS model. WICS model stands for wisdom, intelligence, creativity, and synthesize. Intelligence is viewed as a set of fluid abilities to learn from experience and to adapt to one's surroundings. The basic idea is that citizens of the world need creativity to form a vision of where they want to go and cope with changes in environment. Analytical intelligence to ascertain whether their creative ideas are good ones. Practical intelligence to implement their ideas and to persuade others of the value of their ideas, and wisdom, in order to ensure that the ideas will help achieve some ethically based common good over the long and short terms. Therefore, the WICS is more recent model of how humans think and how humans reason that can help us understand how students will learn most effectively. As what I have mentioned earlier, that intelligence is a set of fluid abilities to learn from experience and to adapt to one's surrounding. So individuals possess abilities that can be nurtured into competencies and further cultivated into expertise. Another one is that Sternberg presents a WICS model for education that is relevant to the need of the times. They were capable of serious analysis of issues and problems. Sternberg also proposed that while education develop analytical and practical intelligence as well as creativity, wisdom should be an integral part of the whole process. Remember that whatever topic you will be teaching, it is important to integrate questions, tasks, or activities that target the development of wisdom.
Before we will apply the WICS model, we will tackle about why do we need the WICS model. An advantage of WICS model is that it goes beyond traditional models that emphasize memory and analytical learning, and as a result, it enables all students to capitalize or i-hands-on ko niya ang strength and to compensate or correct for their weaknesses. So, in applying the WICS model, it included the admission, instruction, and assessment. It can help to the teaching and learning process to reflect and make a choices on the tasks and activities that will be given. make choices. It can be based to the strength or preferences of our students or learners. In applying the WICS model in the 4 skills of Sternberg, we will tackle about teaching analytically, teaching creatively, teaching practically, and teaching wisdom. First, teaching analytically. Evaluate the validity of mathematical problem and discuss weaknesses in the solution if there are any mathematics. So, in that validity ko no, ang questions about mathematical problems. So, dana na siya ma-base nga ang yung subject is about mathematics. In teaching creativity, in applying the WICS model, it discover the fundamental physical principle that underlies all the following problems, each of which differs from the others in the surface structure but nothing it deeps structure. Muna siya ang P6. So, nag-discover ko na siya og fundamental physical principle. Underlies all the following problem. Nasa sa mga P6, diba? So, next is the teaching practically. It is to put into practice what you have learned. From teamwork in football to making a classroom team project succeed. Athletics. So, di ba ang mga athletes gyud is more on practice gyud sila para ang makatuon gyud sila og ayon sa ilang mga strategies, techniques, tapos ma-build gyud nila ilang teamwork. Muna siyang mga athletics para masucceed gyud ang isa ka sports. Then, in teaching wisdom, should parents expect their children to take care of them when they are old? Muna siya ang edukasyon ng pagpapakatao. In reality, di ba, ang isa ka, kita Pilipino is family-oriented kita, di ba? Ato yung kanang, mabot man gid ang panahon nga, atong mga parents is mo going older gid sila, di ba? Pati kita. So, kita nga kanang, mga anak is ato yung ibalos ang mga kaayo, ang pagmahal sa atong mga parents ato muna siya nga kanang gitudlo po na siya sa eskwelahan na dapat gid nga kanang ma-build ang atong kanang edukasyon ng pagpapakatao. So now we will go to next topic. How do you teach analytically? Diba ang analytically is to evaluate the validity of mathematical problem and discuss weaknesses in the solution if there are any. Ano siyang mathematics, diba? So ang in the word analytical skills, it is to determine if a certain idea is good. So, muna siya ang kanang analytical. It is to design tasks and activities that provide opportunity for your learners to analyze, critique, judge, compare, contrast, evaluate, and assess. We will have an example of how do you teach analytically in the next page. In teaching analytically, in analyze the distances of the planet in the solar system. In critique of which planet is the smallest or biggest in the solar system. Judge the planet according to its characteristics and distances from the sun. Compare and contrast the sizes of each planet in the solar system. Evaluate the fastest and slowest planet in the solar system. Assess. Find a partner and assess the strategy of making the solar system model. So, muna siya guys. So, we will now we will now tackle about teaching creativity in the next page. How do you teach creatively? It is to discover the fundamental physical principle that underlies all the following problems, each of which differs from the others in the surface structure, but nothing its deep structure. Muna siya ang P6. So, in creatively, form siya sa create, invent, discover, imagine if, suppose that, and predict. So, we will have an example of creatively in the next page. Teaching creatively in create. we will now create an illustration about the parts of the flower. Invent a poem that would inspire to everybody. Discover new ideas why flowers are beautiful. Imagine if you have a lot of flowers in your house. Are you going to take care of those flowers? Suppose that if you were the owner of the flower shop, how much is the cost of each flower? Predict if what happened to the flower when it gets sink in the water. So in the word class creatively, diba, is to come up with new idea to answer a need or solve a problem. So in teaching creatively mode, magkuan ko na siya og kanang new idea, tapos ato gyud kuan nga makasolve ta og problem or kanang mga importante nga i-solve.
Hi everyone, to continue the topic, we will be talking about how you teach practically. We have here guides on how to teach practically. We have to apply, use, put into practice, implement, employ, and render practical what they know. Here are some examples on teaching practically. First, we have to apply addition concept in determining number of boys and girls in the classroom. Next, we have to use the knowledge of Excel to keep track of daily household expenses. Third, we have to put into practice what you learn about classroom rules in making you one classroom rules poster. Fourth, we have to implement a lesson plan that one has made. Fifth, we have to employ the formula of computing the area of a round circle. And lastly, have in mind real-life situations where students can use what they learn to meet their own and also others' practical needs. Next topic is, how do you teach wisdom? One of the goals is for learners to learn to see and understand the point of view of others. It is important for your learners to balance one's own needs with the needs of other people and also the world or the environment. You teach wisdom when you are able to move your students to try to find a common good, see things from others' point of view, balance your own interests with those of others and of institutions, look at the long term as well as the short term, reflect about how one can base his every decision on positive ethical values, and appreciate that in life, what is seen is true and effective way vary over time and place.